even if you don't know how to go home, deciding to go home is a decision that will then open up the opportunity to say, hey, am I going to go in a cab? Am I going to call an Uber? Am I going to hitch a ride? Am I going to drive back? Am I in a good position to drive back? Like, all these things will open up once you decide that you're going home, right? And that's a simple example to say that if you decide, you say, hey, I'm going to do X this year, I'm going to do X this 12-week year, I'm going to start with X. It's committing to that, and you don't have to have it figured out. Too often we try to have it figured out by saying, I'm going to go home and I'm going to drive the car. You don't have to have the car thing figured out. You just got to make a decision that you're going to go home, and the opportunities along the way will open up. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have a plan. It just means you make a decision and then the plan starts. A lot of people do not make ever the decision because they don't have the plan. And for that reason, they don't ever get the result.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Experiment Nation, what's going on? Ruben here, Ruben Kanya, your host in the lab, and I have another exciting reflective episode of 10 proven principles that I really, truly appreciate. These are thoughts that I've gathered from some amazing individuals and amazing inspiration, amazing insights, and just things that have occurred in my life, especially as we apply a combined amount of ingredients in our lab. Principles are always true. Gravity is a principle. It's not subjective. It is what it is. And so I like applying principles in my life and in my lab, and seeing and helping those apply their principles in their lives so that they can get the results that they want out of their lab, aka life. So with that said, today I want to talk to you about these 10 principles that I really like, that are there's more. There's a lot of principles out there, but these are some of the ones that I believe in, that I want to put, especially in the beginning of this year, which is crazy. January is already coming to an end. And I had a few of these episodes that were very driven towards goals, towards effectiveness, activities, etc. And therefore, I wanted to continue to piggyback on the season that we're in, still to course correct. There's this analogy that talks about, if you were to make a nth of a degree of a correction, and you're flying from California to call it New York, just a slight variation in your trajectory and path can change completely the outcome of where you land. You might be in a whole different other state by just making that whole adjustment, even let alone other country. So it's really important that we are very clear on where we're going, but along the way that we have the right principles to help us get there. So you guys know, it's your one and only host. Why am I qualified? Because I get results and I help others get results, which I take full pride in. But I don't get these results from just insights, by just sitting and brainstorming. I get results by putting myself out there and surrounding myself with people who are doing some amazing things, reading, constantly working on myself. And I come here to share with you in the labs these insights so that you can turn them into your results. With that said, let's get into it, shall we? So I'm gonna actually preface by I just recorded an episode called the 12-week year, and this was a shout out to Brian P. Moran, the author of the 12-week year. Get more done in 12 weeks than others do it in 12 months. And the premise of that was to really focus on quarters, and being very intentional. It helps trim the fat. It helps eliminate all the noise. It helps really just be focused on the next 3 months. It helps also allows you to celebrate. It also helps you reverse engineer the activities that would need to make the next 3 months true. And I like that. And by the way, a lot of things can change in 12 months. So this whole thing about 12-month goals or my goal for 2025 can be misleading, and it can also prevent of having a sense of urgency by not again being really very super focused on the activity at hand. My OCD kicking in if you're watching the video. So with that said, I want to double back on some of that, but I want to start with one of my biggest lessons of 2024, which everyone can capture lessons at their own time and own pace. And I really want to put this one principle to the forefront. It's about making a decision. It's about making a decision when you don't have the how figured out, but the decision is the most important thing to make. Um, and decision even begins with your language. I was on a webinar today that I was hosting to help other investors, as you know, 3 to 5x their rental income by applying the midterm rental insurance strategy, which is what we specialize in here, experiment realestate.com. And I had someone on the side say, I'm trying to get MTR, I'm trying to do the MTR, I'm trying, and I couldn't help myself. And I'm very intentional on how I speak, because I know that what we speak of is a reflection of our thought process, and our thought process ends up determining our truths. And with that, um, you know, it's what Confucius says: he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually correct. And one of the things my mentor would always say is, um, when you go home, you don't say, I'm trying to go home. You say, I'm going home. Now, is that promise? No. People get into accidents every day and don't make it back home. You going back home is a decision. It's not, I'm intending to go home. It's you've decided you're going home. Just like when you say, I'm going to the grocery store, you don't say, I'm trying to go to the grocery store, or you don't say, I'm trying to go home. I hope I get home. No, I'm going home, right? Well, whether you get there or not are two different things, but you've made the decision, and therefore the actions will lead for the next thing. So it's very important, not only that we make the decision, even when we don't know how, even if you don't know how to go home, deciding to go home is a decision that will then open up the opportunity to say, hey, am I going to go in a cab? Am I going to call an Uber? Am I going to hitch a ride? Am I going to drive back? Am I in a good position to drive back? Like, all these things will open up once you decide that you're going home, right? And that's a simple um, example to say that if you decide, you say, hey, I'm going to do X this year, I'm going to do X this 12-week year, I'm going to start with X. It's committing to that, and you don't have to have it figured out. Too often we try to have it figured out by saying, I'm going to go home and I'm going to drive the car. You don't have to have the car thing figured out. You just got to make a decision that you're going to go home, and then the opportunities along the way will open up. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have a plan. It just means you make a decision and then the plan starts. A lot of people do not make ever the decision because they don't have the plan. And for that reason, they don't ever get the result. Okay. So principle number one, major principle for 2024, decide even if you don't know how, decide where you're not ready, jump and build the parachute along the way. You will figure out the how later. You have to, right? There's no other option. Okay. So put yourself in that position. If you're listening to this, I trust that it might find you making better decisions. Now, number two is the 12-week year. Love the concept. And I just talked about it. And just to put it back into perspective, I've been applying the 12-week year, and it's been phenomenal, been very clear. And I encourage you to do the same. And I encourage you to read the book, again, by Brian P. Moran. And again, the book is called 12-Week Year, Get More Done in 12 Weeks Than Others Do in 12 Months. And it's been very effective, efficient. And I do have an accountability buddies that hold me accountable on what we're doing on a weekly and bi-weekly basis. So it's really important that you have that you're not doing your 12-week year alone. But most importantly, and this is the third pillar, it's not about the 12-week year goal, right? That would not help you. It's about the 12-week year goal that's reverse engineered by the activities that it takes to get to the goal. Now, mind you, some of these activities might change. That's why we don't do a 12-month goal. We do a 3-year goal, sorry, a 3-month goal, aka 12 week goal, because you might get new data along the way that justifies or confirms that there's no true or you might get new data points that help you guide you in new approaches towards that goal. So then the how changes. That's why we don't lead with the how, you lead with the decision, because if my goal is to do XYZ, are these activities still true? Went to the test, and again, the reason why I love the analogy of being in the lab is, if you remember, you used to have a, if you ever did had a lab, you would have a conclusion, and based on that conclusion would be based on the results that you captured along during your lab report, that would indicate either, again, going back to principles that were proven to be true, or in some cases your assumptions that have been proven false by always true principles, because principles are always true. There's no wrong principles. Principles will always be principles. So in the 12-week year, when you gather this new data, it's important that we lead with the activities that would lead to that data and not the goal itself. As a matter of fact, I might love this quote: I don't set goals, I have activity objectives, right? That is the intention, because those activities might change. The objective might change as well, but really the only reason the objective would change is if you have new data outputs that would tell you that you should change the objective. Otherwise, the objective should always be the same, should always stick, and then your inputs are different, right? That's what changes. So that's number 3. It's activities versus the goal. A lot of people set goals, but then don't do the activity to get to the goal. So you can say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, but if your activity doesn't align with you trying to lose 20 pounds, you're not losing those 20 pounds. As a matter of fact, it's important that sometimes, even if you did lose weight, it wouldn't necessarily mean that you lost it in a healthy way, but you did it in a sleazy way. That's a Tupac line, if you guys know. Well, at least part of it modified. But so you really want to think about the idea of, um, just because an outcome happened, it doesn't mean that the activities that you did led to them. And it's important that you really think about the activities and see if they align with the goal in itself, right? Now, number 4, it's trusting the process, which is one of my favorites. Actually, I got for Christmas a post up on there that indicates to trust the process. And the reason why trust the process is so important. Here's how you trust the process, right? You don't trust your process, you trust the process. And the process is important that you receive the process from someone that's been in the position that you want to be. Let me say that one more time. You don't trust your process, you don't trust a process, you trust the process. The process that, if you reverse engineer, whoever has gotten to where they want to go, right? They've done the activities, that's their process. They've done the assumptions, the conclusion of their own lab report. They've actually done the ingredients, they've baked the cake, and now you're taking their recipe and you're trusting that it works, because recipe is chemistry are based out of principles, and principles get results. So if you're not getting the result, maybe you just didn't nail the recipe right quite yet, and it takes time to get the recipe right. And so it's so important that we really think about, have you, and I'll mention this later, but maybe you haven't become the sous chef or the chef that you need to be in order for the recipe to work, right? Maybe you haven't become the person yet. Maybe you're actually interpreting the ingredients incorrectly. Maybe what you think are the right ingredients are the wrong ingredients, and that therefore you haven't fully grasped the right recipe yet. Maybe you haven't given the cake allow or enough time to bake, which is often the case because we have this instant gratification. We want things to be done tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure, I think it was I don't know if it was Warren Buffett who said this, is like, you can't make a baby in less than 9 months. There is a process behind it, and you need to trust it. And so a lot of people want to have their results tomorrow when they haven't become the person today that's willing to do the activities to then get the results tomorrow. right? So don't delay that process. Trust the process, trust a proven process. Get a mentor that has gotten the result, is not just talking about the result, has a proven track record that they get the same result that you want. Work with someone that you would want to trade places with and get their recipe, latest and greatest, not an outdated recipe from 10 years ago, not one that worked from 5 years ago and now they're just writing books about it, or a decade ago and it's outdated information, but true and trusted recipes, formulas, a process that is based on principles that works today. And if it's principle driven, it will work today because it has to work by law. So that's trusting the process, right? Then we have the compound effect. Part of it is tied um, uh, to trusting the process. Number 4 was trusting the process. Just to recap, we have number 1, making the decision. Number 2, the 12-week year. Number 3, activities versus goal tracking. I don't set goals, I have activity objectives. Number 4, trusting the process. And number 5, the compound effect. The compound effect is an amazing book by um, Darren Hardy, which I need to revisit. It's one of those books I should be revisiting periodically. So this is a note to self, but really talks about that, you go to the gym and it's hard. You sweat, you're sore the next day. Weigh yourself on the scale, still the same. Go next week, do the exact same thing. Weigh yourself on the scale, still the same. You know, third week, a month, now you're going and you're tired. You got blisters in your hands. You don't see a difference. No one sees a difference. Your family members don't see a difference. Maybe your partner doesn't even see a difference. And you start asking yourself, is it all worth it? Well, turns out a whole quarter goes by and now you actually go down the scale and you lost 5 pounds. And you're like, wow, that took me 3 months. But then this thing happens, and it's the compound effect, and it's the habit, and it's a change, the biochemical change. And it's not just for working out, it's for anything. And then you look, and it's been half a year, and then you see you lost 10 pounds. But there's two things you can do. You might say, oh, it's only 10 pounds. It's going to take me a whole year to lose 20 pounds. I don't think I can do this and give up. But something magical happens because there is, depending on the industry, if it's not just losing weight, there is a thing about a compound effect where the momentum from yesterday builds the momentum for tomorrow and compounds on that momentum and that momentum and that momentum. And that's why it becomes easier over time as you're starting to gain traction to not lose any momentum. Momentum is key. As a matter of fact, I love Googling words. I'm actually going to look at the momentum. Momentum equals mass times velocity, as you know that. So that means speed, taking action. That you have to take action and the speed in which you take the action, right? And then if you look at the phenomenal definition, momentum is a vector quantity. It has both magnitude and direction. Since momentum has a direction, it can be used to predict the resulting direction and speed of motion of objects after they collide. What's another definition of momentum? Let's see, momentum definition physics. Experiment Nation, you've heard me talk about how multiple investors across the nation are landing these lucrative midterm rental insurance contracts by making these small tweaks on the branding and marketing side, especially if you're an existing short-term rental operator. There is a quick and easy shift that you can make with the right guide in place. And because we've launched a 2-day boot camp that not everyone could attend in real time, I've put together a recording where you can get all the materials and all the guides to focus on rebranding either your short-term rental business or your current midterm rental business so that you can actually have the insurance companies reach out to you. And then day 2 is if you want to actually play offense, how you can reach out to them by listing on the right platforms, etc. If you're looking to get this MTR bootcamp so that you can start optimizing and you can start receiving these lucrative contracts that again provide less headaches, less turnovers, unlike the Airbnb space, you can start receiving inquiries today by having the right guide in place. So please go to Experiment realestate.com/MTR bootcamp, or click the link in the bio to make sure you get your hands on the midterm rental insurance bootcamp to fast track your way into landing these lucrative insurance contracts the exact same ways multiple investors have taken advantage of this unknown and untapped niche within the midterm rental umbrella. Momentum is a fundamental cause of physics that quantifies the motion processed by an object. It is defined as the product of an object's mass and velocity. In other words, momentum is determined by multiplying the mass of an object by its velocity. The formula to calculate momentum is mass times velocity. Love that. However, let's go to regular definition in real time. The driving force gained by the development of a process or course of events. You could not make this up, guys. I just talked about the process. Isn't that crazy? The impetus and driving force gained by the development of a process or course of events. The investigation gathered momentum in spring. So it's fascinating because this is exactly, you could make this up. I just looked it up in real time, didn't even have this planned. It says a process driven, right? So you follow a process, you build momentum, you build up speed, you build velocity, and over time it's hard to stop a moving train. It's hard to stop a moving bike. It's hard to stop something that is in motion. Try to stop a boulder that's coming down in speed versus trying to lift it up. There's going to be some speed behind it. And that's exactly how momentum works in your world. When you have momentum, it's generating a force behind you that it's actually becomes easier when you have momentum to make a shift, a motion, cover some ground. There's a significant amount of momentum that you have going your way where you don't have to push as much as you had to before. When you're going downhill with a car, sometimes you don't even have to press the gas because you got momentum behind you. But that momentum needs to be built via a process. And so it's fascinating. Think about areas in your life where you can create a compounding effect. And that usually comes time because velocity is measured over a time period. But most of us don't want to take the time to do the thing, to become the person, to then have the thing, right? Which is one of my last principles, right? So the thing is with a compound effect is it gets hard. And it's hard to trust the process. And it's hard to keep going when you don't see results. And the reason this is so top of mind, and I had a student who reached out who joined my program, one of my affiliate programs that we did a year ago, and she landed a huge contract and she was so happy. And I was so happy for her because she's, great soul. And it just made me think of the sixth principle. Winners are losers who never quit. And so if you make a decision, principle number one, and you then track it in a 12-week year, and then you set the activities and reverse engineer the activities and don't focus on the goal, but the activities that will lead to the goal, and then you trust the process because you have a proven process within the 12-week year that you're going to implement, aka the 12 weeks. And then you let it compound over time. What will happen over time is that you will end up winning. But what will not happen is if you stop the process. If you stop trusting the process, you stop doing the activities that lead to you getting the outcome, you will not win. And the truth is, the challenge is different from everyone. The time horizon is different from everyone. We all have different ticking times. We all have different lifespans. We all have different things that are going on in our life. But I really love and do really resonate with winners or losers who never quit because it's true. Evidently, if you keep on going, you will get the thing. Who doesn't end up getting the thing? The people who quit along the way. There's this whole analogy of this gentleman that's, again, digging for gold. And he's been digging for gold for years. And on the last stroke, he was going to get the gold. But you know what he does? He turns around and it just shows you. It's this graphic. It just shows literally the gold was right there. And it means it's symbolizing that often we get so close to achieving our goals. Most people do. Some people don't. They don't even get close. But some will get so close just when the momentum is about to kick in and they give up. And that's unfortunate because sometimes you don't even let momentum play on our side. it feels so heavy and we feel like it's going to be so heavy the entire time, but we don't realize that we're building up the momentum that will get the boulder over the hill for it to then start pushing down, and then the momentum is easy, and then we don't even have to do as much, or when we do, has an exponential effect downstream of what happens because momentum is on our side. So fundamentally beautiful concept to think about, and keep in mind that if you don't quit, if you don't ever quit, you will eventually win, and that's a beautiful thing. Then when you think about that and you're thinking about the challenge, it's principle number 7. One of my mentors says there's always two sides to a coin, right? Heads or tails. There's always two sides to a paper, front and back, which means that there's always two sides to a specific outlook. There's a good and there's a bad side. And whichever one you focus on becomes your reality. That's crazy. If you think about that, whatever you focus on becomes your reality. It means that your reality is based on the things that you focus on. What you focus on is what you give energy to. What you give energy to is what becomes, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. Isn't that crazy? Like, if you think about that, we don't experience life. We experience what we focus on, and then that becomes our life. Like that, that is nuts. That, like, when I think of that quote in itself, it's powerful. There's so much power behind it. So if you think about that, again, we don't experience life, we experience the life that we focus on. So are you operating in the gap, or are you operating in the gain? That was one of my big, probably around 4 years ago, I think, during COVID, the gap and the gain. What are you focused on? That's a phenomenal book. Are you focused on the gap, or are you focused on the gain? Because both are there. Both are always there. There was a positive and a negative. There's a negative to a positive every single time. Depending on what you focus on, you will attract. So I choose to operate in the gain, and you have to train yourself to operate in the gain, because by default, your brain wants to survive, and it's always thinking about the gap. Where's the risk? What should I not do? I will lose money. What if this happens? All fear and faith are exact opposites of each other. They both have never been realized. They are not true, but they are thoughts that are leading up to an outcome that has yet to happen. If you're afraid of something that hasn't happened, that's fear. If you have faith in something that hasn't happened, that's faith, right? Remember, fear is not real. Now, when something stuns you and you actually have a reason to actually be afraid, then that's a response to a threat, to an actual threat. But fear is the opposite of faith, and it's not real. So that's gap versus gain. Number 7. Number 9. So service. This one really resonate with, because you create a platform, and or at least the platform that I have, it's to serve, right? Not obviously there's a benefit that I can get from this, right, myself, but like, I'm not getting paid to record this show. Now, can it bring me revenue? Can it bring me clients? Can it bring me business that I can't quantify? Sure. But we put 1,000 videos of free content. You have to have some level of of service out there, and picking your tribe of who you want to serve. Because I truly believe that if you help as many people get what they want, you can get what you want. And so you really have to be from a place of abundance. And a lot of businesses struggle because of that. They don't have a service channel. You have to have a service channel, because that's how energy flows and information flows. So just something to think about, right? Instead of thinking take, think give, then ask. Right? Give, then ask. It's so much easier to receive when you do that way. People want to take, then give. So if you reframe your thinking, that's the same um, in anything that you do, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So even if you were to join like a mastermind, you're like, how much can I get from this person, this value, this module, this thing? Well, can you also give some back too? Can you ask some questions that many people are thinking? Can you, when someone asks a question in a group, can you help them? Can you help someone at your workplace? Can you help someone at your office? Can you help someone at the gym? Can you help? Can you give? Can you serve? Can you assist with no expectation in return? That's huge. Why? Because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So what you put into the inner universe will eventually always come back full circle. I truly believe that. So you do it not for it to come back, but you do it knowing that there's no wasted energy. A smile never hurt anybody. We could use that as much as anyone right now, right? Giving doesn't always have to be money. It could be attention. It could be a smile. It could be laying a helping hand. It could be awareness. Giving somebody, hey, by the way, you just want you to know that your bag's unzipped. Save some money, right? Whatever it is, you can serve. You can play your part. It does not have to be monetary. It could be your time. It could be your energy. It could be your positive energy. It could be your insight. It could be your belief. It could be being someone's biggest cheerleader. It could be pouring into someone's faith to give them the confidence to do what they need to do. It could be just simply supporting someone. And last but not least, sir, or I should say, prior to the least, number 9 is being you. I recently read this quote that I thought was really neat, because I got this question even on a webinar today, like, oh, what about this person's course? What about that? Have an abundant state of mind. The thing is, whatever it is that you're doing, you're unique. So, um, what you need to think about is, and I'm looking for this to share a quote with you here that was very powerful, and I think I posted it even this week on my Instagram. Um, it's let's see here. Hmm, I've lost it. But to finish my, I'll pull that up in a second. But being you, being unique, um, is simply being yourself. And you might say, well, someone else is doing this already. Yeah, but they're not you. And so that's a really good reminder to think about, that there's always a uniqueness that you bring to the table, because no one else is like you. You might think so. Oh, well, they're actually better than me, or they might be deliver it better. Yeah, but there's something that is unique about the experience that you bring to the table. Your framework, your mindset, your aura, your swagger, whatever it is that you bring. Someone's gonna resonate with that differently than they're gonna resonate with someone else, and people sometimes overlook that. Um, so I want to share this quote with you. Um, the dreams. Oh, actually, sorry, the high achievers, the persons you admire, are those individuals who open their gifts. These winners have more gifts because they claimed them. They took them out of the wrapping and used them. And the truth is, we all have different set of gifts, right? Some of us are really good at public speaking. Some of us are really good at writing. Some of us are really good. And they don't even have to be these tactical skill sets by any means, but they're unique skills. And the people that we call gifted are different from, again, the crowd in one very special way, is that they accepted their gifts. They didn't want to make someone else's gifts become their gifts. They just accepted their gifts. And that comes from self-awareness. So the best thing you can do is do all the principles, align the principles with the ones that align with you. And then number 10, my favorite, be, do, have. That's become the person that's able to now do the thing to then receive the thing. And this is important, because sometimes we have these goals, right? But we haven't become the person that does the activity to then hone your craft, achieve mastery to then have the thing. So then we complain that we haven't gotten the thing yet. Well, my question to you is, have you become the person that is doing the activity, that has allowed the activity to compound, so that the process in itself gains momentum, and the process in itself starts to have outputs, and the process in itself starts to compound, and now it's easier. And because that person stuck around long enough and they followed a principle of mass times velocity, right? Of momentum. Now they've gained the momentum, and the momentum makes it look as if now, as time goes on, things have gotten easier because it is, but it's also because they become the person that it's easier for the thing to happen to them has become, right? So it's easier for that person to receive the thing because they become the person that's ready to do the things to then receive an outcome, right? So that's what the be, do, have is about. It's about working on the thing until it can work for you. But first, the work, just like force, has to work on you before it can work for you. And I leave you with these 10 principles. Recap it from the top. Make the decision in 2025, but then break your year up into 12-week years, right? So that's 3 months. That's principle number 2. Principle number 3, activity versus the goal will matter every time. So in your 12-week year, reverse engineer the activities that you will need in order to become the person that does those activities to then have the thing. Number 4, trust the process. And when you do trust the process, by default, number 5, the compound effect will kick in. And if you let the compound effect kick in, you essentially will do what winners are. It's number 6, it's winners or losers who never quit. And then number 7, having that outlook and having the mindset to then keep you going, because it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. But if you focus on the gap, that's what you will get. If you focus on the gain, that's also what you will attract, and that's what you will get. So if you do that, and then you open up your gift, which is number 8, and then you serve, which is number 9, and then you become the person that does the thing to have the thing, that is number 10, y'all. Now you're in a position to have the experiments in your lab come to fruition for you to, again, enjoy the fruits of your labor in your life, aka your lab. I hope that you got value from these 10 principles that I put together because they're the ones that are dear in my heart that I apply every single day. And certainly not perfect. I actually like to track my process in weeks, just like the 12-week, because I believe that when you do something by day, it's hard. And if you have a bad day, which we're only human, we can all have bad days. We get setbacks, we don't feel good, or the day gets the best of us and we feel exhausted, or we don't make it through. Conquering the week is what I would even call this episode, but conquering the week is what we do so that if you have a bad Monday, you can still make it up on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and still get to your goal. Because what that does, it tells, again, your subconscious mind that you are the person that when you say you're going to do something, as a matter of fact, when you decided that something is going to happen, and when you make the decision here, then you do the thing, and then you do the activities to have the thing. There is no other thing that's more important than you having the confidence that anything that you set your mind to in your mind, once you've made a decision, actually turns into fruition. Not on your timeline, but on the principles of when you've become the person that's ready to receive the thing after you've let it compound over time, so that the work has worked enough on you for it to work for you. With that experimentation, I leave you with great principles in your lab so that you can implement to serve as many people as you can to get anything that you want in your lab, in your world, in your life. Bless you. Let's build. Experimentation. I believe there are 2 critical components that will help you achieve your goals very quickly and succeed. Number 1, it's information like this that you received on a show, in an episode, and content that you can find on my YouTube channel or anybody's channel. And then there's a community. And the way we've been able to expedite our process, the way people in our community, people that we consult, mastermind members, whoever, they get the information on an episode like this, but then they also have the support, whether it's me guiding them or being guided through a community. There is an opportunity for you listening to be able to expedite your process or even expedite your results that you're seeking by being in part of the community. If that is what you're interested in,
We at Experiment Nation happen to have a community devoted to helping maximize your occupancy and your profitability altogether, regardless of which market that you are in. And for that reason, you have an opportunity where you can go to experimentrealestate.com/submit if you're looking to work in an environment that can help you prosper faster. Call out any areas that you might not be familiar in, especially the blind spots. That's where a guide comes in hand, and I would be a pleasure and honor to be your guide. But in order to make sure you're a good fit, make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com/submit so that my team can go ahead and take it and see if you're a good fit to join the mastermind and the multiple programs that we have. In addition to that, I'm also now a YouTube partner, which means that I want to give you more access to information, more access to Q&As, more access to the questions that actually come out of our mastermind that help people expedite the process. We've seen people get anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to even $7,000 a month net on just one door by applying the strategies that we use by working with corporations and furnished accommodation in a very strategic way. So if you're interested, make sure you also subscribe, because I'm going to have different tiers that's on YouTube now that we've become YouTube partner to continue to be the bridge to your success in your lab. And your lab means your life, your goals, or wherever you're trying to head. So make sure you also hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/real estate experiment. We'll be there. You can also look us up at midterm rental insurance experiment. We will be there. Make sure you hit the subscribe, because that's when you'll know the tiers that are available to you that make sense for you in your marketplace for your results. Remember, you're only one experiment away. Let's build.
If you got value from this episode, make sure you, depending on where you're listening to this, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening, drop us a review on Spotify, iTunes. It means the world to have been able to connect with amazing individuals like yourselves who's listening. I've been able to connect with you in person. I've been able to connect with you online, and it's amazing as when you subscribe, it helps continue to spread the word and create a community of Experiment Nation that will continue to live and thrive in our experiments together. With that said, speaking of principles, one of the things that we have a principle on is teaching other investors how to turn their monthly rental income into their quarterly income. So I should take that back. We teach others how you can have what is currently your quarterly income and turn it into your monthly income by applying the temporary housing midterm rental insurance strategy that we apply, which is an incredible strategy that really changed the game for us, that we've been able to help hundreds of investors nationwide. We do have a challenge that is coming up, a 2-day challenge where we can help you identify the areas where you need to post your properties, the tweaks that you need to make for your properties, both on the branding and marketing side. It's a 2-day challenge, intensive. General admission is applicable, and you have the VIP where you can get all of the material, recordings, extra bonus content, and kept for a lifetime. Like I said, a brain that's been expanded can never go back to its old dimension. So you want to make sure if that's something you're looking to implement, this is best if you're an Airbnb guest host already, short-term rental, and you're looking to add an extra strategy that has less turnovers and just, again, inconsistencies. If you want profitable ones and high extensions, high occupancy, high profitability, and you want to start operating the B2B model instead of the B2C model, which is catering to consumers versus businesses that are insurance companies, you're going to want to make sure you're a part of this challenge to get information that will help you unlock the next level for your business in 2025. If that's you, make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com/challenge, and we will see you there. Depending on the time you're listening to this, we constantly have challenges going on. So you'll see the latest challenge on that page, experimentrealestate.com/challenge. I trust that I will see you there to apply some mid-term rental insurance principles that work when you're ready for them to work for you. Let's get after it. Let's build, y'all.